Welcome to our show. We have a lot of sports to talk about. Don't change that dial. Penguins at 7:30, all right? Keep watching Pittsburgh Sportsline here. I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Chip, the Prophet Hainer. Smoking Jim Frazier. Big Mike Butera. And we start out right out with a bang. What's on your mind, Big Mike?
Well, actually, not too much, but...
Okay, never mind.
Let's go to the infomercials.
Okay, I have this one thing that I do want to present, and if you could zoom in there, I'll do it. Dr. Trina Hess went to the fights while Smoking Jim and I were ring announcers. So Smoking Jim brought me up to the big leagues. She was snapping off videos like crazy. Go to Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. You'll see videos from Dr. Trina Hess, like her Humor Academy, or just like her on Trina Hess. But thanks, Trina. Now, this is the unicycle event that she gave me. The guy, Frank Halling, is the guy teaching her to do a unicycle, and that'll be in Butler the week of July 21st to the 27th. So that's the infomercial there, and then there's Golden Glove Boxing. This is one of the things going on. We were at the Great Golden Gloves at the Royal Place on Route 88. Fantastic venue, great crowd. Jimmy Savetic, who was a guest on our SIP Sports Bar, was just unreal. You have to hear his comments. Wait till we get video on that. Hopefully Steel City Sports World will send that video around so we can do it. But there's going to be a couple other boxing matches here. You're going to have the 23rd this week, Punxsutawney Community Center at 7 p.m. March 24th, Holy Trinity in Erie. So for you guys traveling, it's 2 o'clock. April 6th, Du Bois Country Club, 7 p.m. And then look for Smoking Jim. Aaron Ward and I will be there with BPTV to bring you guys the show April 14th. That's the Western Pennsylvania Finals at the Doubletree Hotel in downtown Monroeville.
God's country.
And guess who's from Monroeville, folks? I don't want to mention Smoking Jim. But then we'll also be back on April 20th at the Royal Place for the Novus Cadet and Hall of Fame. There'll be a dinner at 6. Go there for the dinner. I heard the food's excellent there, and the fights start at 7:30. Big Mike, now I know you had a chance to gather your thoughts. Go ahead.
1 second. And Smoking Jim will be recruiting anybody's future to be high school athlete for the Gators.
Now, Big Mike, I'm building this for you now. What do you have on your mind?
I still don't have anything. As a matter of fact,
Okay, Smoking Jim.
I want to do my own promo. I don't know if we get a shot at this, but this is how much time and effort I put into the show every week to entertain you people like Rick and Loretti in Frankfort, Illinois. I know you guys are doing better as time goes on.
What about Buzzy?
Big Jim in Haji, Big Jim in Lawrenceville, Old Nicky in Export, and Raul Vision in Columbus.
Who is that last guy? A new guy?
Raul Vision. He's an Argentinian Frenchman.
So you have a new viewer. Thank you.
Yeah,
Because we're expanding all the time.
for this show
around
here.
here.
I want to promote these guys.
Well, thank you.
And I
Did
really
they friend us on Facebook yet?
Raul Vision, I know, does. Big Jim in Lawrenceville is computer illiterate. Little Nicky in Export spends too much time with video games. And Rick and Loretti watch this show constantly, so yes. By the way, what are we up to now?
156.
Awesome.
And if you could friend us, we'd be at 157 before the
You know
end
what?
of
I'm
the
trying to
show.
figure out how to do that because I'm now joined. I have now joined within the last week, as I mentioned the smoking a moment ago. But I'm trying to figure out how to insert stuff.
Oh, wait a second. We'll talk about that off the air.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, this is a family
Yeah,
program.
come on now.
And he should be talking.
Come on now.
Go
Go ahead, Big Mike. This is your 2 minutes of fame right now.
Oh, so hardly-
Because you're down to 2 minutes.
I wanted to acknowledge the passing of a couple sports and sports-related people that's occurred in the past 30 days. And the fellow, I can't remember his first name, but Gerard, Mr. Gerard, was a cameraman back with NBC throughout his entire career, and he is the iconic figure that had filmed Carlton Fisk's home run that went over the Green Monster against Cincinnati in the '75 World Series. I think it was the 12th inning when he kept going like this in an effort to, hopefully have the ball stay fair. Now that shot was caught accidentally. This is very interesting because Gerard, the cameraman, was stationed in the lower right-hand corner, if you're looking at the field, of the Green Monster. And his responsibility that entire game was to train the camera on any balls that went into the air, whether it went to behind the home plate or right field, center field, or whatever. And had he been able to perform that in the 12th inning, what you would have seen is the camera bringing the ball as was coming out to the Green Monster, and then another camera would have taken it around the foul pole. What happened is there was a rat in the Green Monster that was scurrying around his feet as Fisk hit the ball, and he was unable to get the camera to, I don't know what the rig was, but to get the camera to elevate to track the ball in the air. So it was only to stay level and watch Fisk go down the line. So that was an accidental iconic shot, and the guy just died 30 days ago. And then the other fellow I wanted to mention was a fellow from Western Pennsylvania, Bill Famey, that pitched for the Pirates and a bunch of other teams back in the late 40s and mid 50s. And Bill was when he pitched for the Pirates in the, I think it was 53 through 55 or something like that, he actually set a major league record for the most batters faced without issuing a base on balls. And the streak was ended right here in Pittsburgh at Forbes Field. He was in about the 5th or 6th inning, and there was a downpour of rain, and the game was interrupted for maybe half hour, 45 minutes. And Bill Famey, who was notorious for being a boozer such as I am, and no big deal, he went and hit himself in a corner somewhere at the end of the dugout or whatever. And when he came back out after about a half an hour, 45 minutes, he issued his first walk and then his second walk. He actually walked, I think, 5 out of the first 7 batters he faced and threw a wild pitch, and actually gave up the winning runs. And it was against the Milwaukee Braves. And at the end of the game, back in those days, you had to file through the home team's dugout in order to get to your locker room. And it was Joe Adcock, the very same Joe Adcock that broke out the no-hitter of Harvey Haddix years later, happened to notice where Famey was sitting during the rain delay and saw a bunch of beer bottles, and it was said to one of the other Braves, he said, that must be the beer that made Bill Famey walk us. And I just wanted to note the passing of...
that is what's on Big Mike's mind. Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful.
It's right here. Bill Famey.
Well, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
And your fans will thank you, as will ours.
157 will be next week, I'm sure.
I hope tonight.
Follow that smoking.
All right, now, what's on your mind, Smoking Jim Frazier?
Well, I just got a question for all you guys. I heard that recently they elected a pope or appointed a pope. Was it a black guy?
Argentinian.
Okay, because I know there was a black pope that was up for the running, right, this
We've
year.
had black popes before. You just didn't know about it, and they try not to tell you that.
Okay.
It's in the history books, and for all you guys that don't read history, just check it out.
I didn't know. When I seen all that black smoke, I thought it was a done deal.
No, that was pollution. They actually said it was global warming.
He did follow this.
Yeah, he come out strong.
But hey,
That was excellent. Now what's on your mind?
I got my spotlight player of the week, and we're going to the. Speaking of the Black Pope, we're going to the all Black college leagues. Keith Pugh. 6'2", 240-pound linebacker from Howard University. He played outside linebacker at Howard. I'm projecting him to be an inside linebacker in the National Football League. He's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, but his effort and his will to win will make him a great NFL player. I compare him a little bit to he got great leadership skills. This guy was a 4-year team captain at the University of Howard, and that's exceptional. You can't break that record. And 2, comparing very little to, remember Earl Holmes used to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he reminds me a lot of Ray Lewis of the Baltimore Ravens. So all you NFL GMs, get on the horn and get some film on Keith Pugh from Howard University, and that's my Spotlight Player of the Week.
Well, thanks, Smoking Jim. You got a bonus, folks. You got what's on his mind. And he tried to top Big Mike. We'll let you vote on that later. Maybe on our Facebook page you can tell us about who had the better opening line. And now we'll go to Chip Hayner. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Al. And like I always say, following this man to my left, he's a tough act to follow. But what's on my mind? It's 13 days before opening day.
Wow.
April 1st, Pirates are playing the Cubs. Smarst is going to be pitching against A.J. Burnett. Really looking forward to the opening of the season. But what's on my mind is, you know, Pirates made a move yesterday, which was really no surprise to anybody that knows anything about baseball. But people on the talk radio shows were blowing up the airwaves criticizing Pirates management, from Bob Nutting to Frank Coonelly to Neil Huntington and everybody else, because Garrett Cole got sent down to the minors. Now, I don't really think that this is a big deal, because this man, they have a plan in place for him. And, you know, the plan included him being sent to the minors, pitching for a period of time in AAA ball before he gets brought up to the majors. And, you know, he performed admirably this spring. He impressed a lot of people. But, you know, he's pitched one game in AAA ball, and he's not ready to pitch in the major leagues yet. He's disappointed about it, which, you know, I mean, he's a competitor. He wants to play against the top caliber players. But, you know, people are just lining up to bash the Pirates, and the season hasn't even started yet. We haven't even thrown pitch one. Everybody's bad-mouthing the ownership. They're bad-mouthing the
I didn't
managers.
start yet.
You know,
I don't feel guilty.
And I'm getting a little sick of it, because I'm telling you what, this is the most excitement I think that we've had in the last 20 years going into the season. I think we've got more reasons for optimism this year that the Pirates are going to end the streak, and I've already stated that it is going to end this year. But, you know, I'm sure right after the first pitch, and if it's a ball, you know, we're going to start hearing about how, you know, we're bums, and that, you know, if we lose the first game by chance, I'm sure that, you know, we're going to run up the flag and say Clint Hurdle needs to be fired. You know, what I'd like to say to the people that are really and truly Pirate fans, you should be sitting back and enjoying what's about to happen instead of moaning and complaining about things that happened in the past. Garrett Cole is not ready to pitch in the major leagues. It's a really smart idea to get him into AAAs, work on his mechanics, work on his attitude, work on his mindset, learning how to pitch to major league hitters. You know, people are saying that he's one of their 5 best pitchers, and he would be guaranteed a spot on the in the starting rotation. Well, let me clue everybody in on a little piece of information. Garrett Cole has pitched well this spring. He has not struck out every batter that he's faced. You know, he has not thrown like 5 no-hitters in a row. You know, I mean, the guy is learning how to pitch. He deserves to be in the minor leagues. Yes, he wants to be up in the majors. I love the kid's attitude. I love the competitive nature of him. But you know what? Let them do what they're going to do. You know what? If the Pirates end up failing this year, at that point, fire Huntington, fire Hurdle. You know, that's if they do. But you know what? Sit back and enjoy the season. We've got a Major League Baseball team that we can be proud of this year. And I think, you know, instead of trying to look for holes or poke holes in the ship, let's help to keep it afloat and be proud of the team that we've got. That's what's on my mind, Owen.
Thanks, Chip.
Great job, Chip.
And I'm just going to sit back here and not moan or cry about that.
You know, everybody's entitled to say
Oh,
what
wait,
they want.
we'll revisit that then.
Sure we will.
What's on my mind is the Penguins. I was talking about it last night a little bit. 9 in a row seems to have cured a lot of ills around here. The team's scoring, they fall behind, they end up winning a game. They have some defense, the offense off the charts, but then they only score 1 goal, get a shutout. People want to complain about where'd the offense go. I'm on Chip's theme about being positive. Enjoy the show. We're seeing some great hockey. Great teams are coming in. Look at Boston. We were fearful of them. Look at Philadelphia is having a down year. Now we're not fearful of them.
They're not going to make the playoffs.
Exactly. Exactly. So my point again is, even though I drink their Kool-Aid, I believe they'll be in the Stanley Cup. I think they're going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm staying with it. And if they lose the next couple in a row, I'm not going to jump off that bandwagon. I'm all on the Penguin bandwagon. We'll get Malkin back shortly, if not tonight. I heard he was on the ice today.
No, they don't expect him back. Friday maybe at the earliest. He won't be skating this evening.
Well,
Miles McCall filled me in.
I'm glad. I'm glad. He's drinking Penguin Kool-Aid. Steeler Kool-Aid, Pirate Kool-Aid. He got buckets of it in his house, I heard.
I love the sweet stuff.
Well, now we do this segment here, guys, where we revisit what's on our minds. So anybody that has questions with what any of us have said up here, including you, Big Mike, you can just fire away.
I don't have a question, but
You have a statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Steph,
Give us two of them.
One, Steph, look out. I sat with him before the show. This guy is on fire tonight. There's something in his Kool-Aid, whatever. Watch out later tonight, and don't forget to keep the dinner warm for him.
I don't know if she gets it involved.
Hey,
Is she watching it? And she doesn't get to watch it
No,
involved.
she doesn't get to watch it. But to speak to Alan's point, I do believe there's a Hart Trophy and a Ross Trophy in Sid Crosby's near future. He's going to win the league MVP. He's going to win the scoring title, and why not take a Conn Smythe with that, which is the playoff MVP. Sidney Crosby right now is far head and shoulders the best player in hockey, and not only is he the best player in hockey, he's the hardest working player in hockey.
Yes, he is.
And I'll tell you what, his work ethic is rubbing off on the rest of his teammates. They're getting contributions from everybody. They lose, arguably the second best player in the world. Some people will argue Malkin is the best. He's been out. Letang went down. We didn't miss a beat. The team worked hard. They played such good defense against Boston on Sunday. The last 2 minutes of the game when Boston was trying to get their goaltender off the ice, they couldn't get him off the ice because the Penguins kept on dumping the puck back there. They didn't get a real scoring chance in the last 2 minutes of the game, and that's the kind of defense the Penguins are capable of playing, and if they keep playing that kind of that defense, Lord Stanley's coming back to the Berg.
They were. I watched the entire game. In my estimation, they were outplayed by Boston, but because they're a good enough team, they won. I think Boston outplayed the Penguins on Sunday.
Well, Boston, no question, outshot them. But you look at the game that they played a week earlier when we were losing 2-0. We got about 6.5 minutes left in the game, and we scored 3 goals. That game, even though we were losing 2-0, we outplayed them that whole game. And subsequently, we ended up winning the game in regulation. Yeah. And these come from behind wins, winning these games 2-1, 3-0, 3-2. These are the kind of games that you have to win and the way you have to win to be successful in the playoffs. When they beat Montreal 7-6 and then they went down 4-1 to the Flyers before they put up 4 more goals to tie the game. Those are the kind of, you play that way and you're going to have an early exit out of the playoffs. But they bought into Bilesma's system. They don't panic. They just keep doing the same things, plug in different people, and everybody buys into the system, and it's working right now.
And Hope, by the way, the game is on NBC this evening, and my phone number is 412-831-3304 to keep us informed of the.
My sister.
Yes, Hope.
Yeah, she won't see this till after it's rebroadcast.
It's on national TV, I thought.
And Jersey, she won't hear this.
Well, she can still call.
She did the last time, so Hope, if you can hear me, biggest fan in Jersey now. But speaking of biggest fans, Chief he's holding a record for most times out at Sips Sports Bar.
Yes, he is.
You know what? He's a legend. He even had to work last night. Hope you made it to work on time.
He's got a 1-show lead over my darling wife, because she was sick the 1 week. But
she was near death. She was near death.
But she's come back strong. She's a loyal supporter of our endeavor.
And we appreciate that. And Mike Brown, thanks again for liking us. Since I was remiss yesterday, you did like us on the fan page, Pittsburgh Sportsline. Mike, I know you're going to be there shortly since you got your clubs on FB. Yeah, you lied last week because I looked for you and your club.
I don't know how to do it. We said about
you just go on there and Pittsburgh Sportsline, hit the like button. Now we're going to revisit no more. That's it for the revisitation. You guys are all over the place tonight. I don't know what's going on in the air.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hold you. Yeah, but it's him.
Who? Chipper.
Yeah, he's Christy.
All right. We got Frisky Chipper. And we're going to go to Pittsburgh Sportsline at Sips Sports Bar. We had a lot of great guests again. We had our fantasy sports guy, John Galeza. He even dressed like he was a guy from the hood. Smoking Jim found out where he gets his clothes. Watch the show. It's actually up on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook right now and all over the place. And we also had some boxing greats. Johnny Spell. He was there, trainer from Northside. He'll tell you where his gym is. It's actually in a project. His son, young Johnny Spell, just a great young man, goes to school, works out, fights guys 5, 6, 7 years older than him and wins. And then another guy, Keith Jihad, the guy's only been boxing 2 years, has an unorthodox style, nice boxer there. Then we had Cassie from Cassandra Florals and Designs. She's all over the place. She hooked us up with the Dormont Business Association. They liked us and everything, so she's trying to spread the word to help us. She had a nice, terrible towel, wreath type of ornament for us. Big Mike, you'll have to check it out when you can go on Facebook or YouTube. So we had all these great guests. You guys got to come out at 7:30 next Monday night. See who we have there. Oh, we had Little Z, Zach Brenner. He was on. We got Big Mike, 2. He's Pittsburgh Sports Nation because he's bigger than our Big Mike. I had to give him the crown there, sorry, because we're boxing.
1
and
and
all
2
that
is cool.
stuff.
That's cool.
You okay with
Yeah,
that?
man.
All right, thanks.
There are other machines, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
There's washing machines.
There you go. Good
Working
stuff.
machines and the talking machine. And now we'll go to one of the favorite segments that I have, Fiction and Fact from Smokin' Jim's Almanac.
Hey, thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, go to Levine. Hey, I'm going back to 2009. 2009 was a very special year for me. As an NFL scout, I rarely go before the game into the locker rooms, and I hardly never go into the visitors' locker room. But in 2009, Pittsburgh Steelers were playing the Minnesota Vikings, and I always wanted to meet the greatest quarterback in NFL history, Brett Favre, for 2 reasons. One, because Brett Favre is the greatest quarterback in NFL history, and number 2, because his best friend was the late, great Steve Air McNair, another Mississippi native. He and Brett Favre from Mississippi, they used to go hunting and fishing together. And so I go into the locker room, and I was a little, like I says, you know, I got a lot of respect for these guys getting ready for a game. But when I walked into the locker room, it was more or less like Animal House. Brett Favre was smacking people in the butt cheeks with the towel.
Wet towel?
Yeah, he had the gauze of tape, and he rolled up so tight like a brick, and he was picking people off, man. So, and what an arm he got.
Sure.
And so once I seen that everything was clear, I went over to Brett Favre, introduced myself, and he shared some things about Steve Ear McNair that I didn't know, talked to me a little bit about the funeral. And I felt obligated at that point, to Brett Favre, I felt obligated to give him a tip. And if you go back to that 2009 game, I told Brett Favre, listen, if you want to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers today, throw at number 22, William Gay. And if you guys remember, prior to that game, a lot of people thought that William Gay was a pretty good player. Brett Favre threw for about 400 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers, almost all of it against William Gay. And if you remember, Adrian Peterson even ran him over and stepped on his chest. And that was the beginning of the end for William Gay. And it was because that I gave Brett Favre the great tip, throw often and always at number 22, William Gay. William Gay left the Steelers after that, a few years after that. But hey, William Gay is back, number 22. And that's my Fiction and Fact with Smokin' Jim's Almanac, 2009, the greatest player of all time as far as quarterbacks, Brett Favre.
Thanks, Smokin' Jim. We'll put that in the file there so we can relive that again. And now, you guys know this is one of my favorite parts because this guy calls it useless information, but I call it Chip's Trivia Time, and he teased me with what he's going to talk about. So I can't wait.
Well, the information that I've dug up out of nowhere, which means absolutely nothing to anybody, has to do with the NCAA basketball tournament. What better time to pull out a little nugget about the tournament?
Wow.
March Madness is about ready to kick off this evening. There's a couple of play-in games tonight at Dayton. If you tune in, also let's give a little shout out to Robert Morris. They're going to play in the University of Kentucky, the defending NCAA national champion that didn't make the tournament.
Let me cross that off.
Okay.
NIT.
Okay, but there are five schools that are eligible to make the NCAA tournament that have never once played in the NCAA tournament. And here's the interesting, and I will throw out the 5 teams that have not made the tournament.
I gotta take notes.
One of the teams, I don't think anybody would guess this one. You've heard of, the coaches that have had the most wins in college basketball history. Well, the one gentleman was the coach of the team. The man that passed him on the career wins list played for him.
Wow.
Yes,
I'm getting confused now.
So the coach of the team was Bobby Knight.
Okay.
Yeah.
The player that passed him as now the most winningest coach is Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
Army is one of the colleges that have never played in the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
William and Mary is another one.
No way.
St. Francis, the Citadel, and Northwestern. None of these teams have ever played in the NCAA tournament.
They're the only 5?
Those are the 5 that have not made the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, up until last year, Harvard had never made the NCAA tournament, and this year they made it their 2nd year in a row.
Wow, roll that list over again.
William and Mary.
William and Mary, that's Coach Mike Tomlin's
Tomlin's school.
Citadel is
Cortez
Allen School.
Yep.
And no wonder the
And
Steelers.
St. Francis is the new
And,
Pope's school.
No wonder the Steelers didn't make the playoffs.
Northwestern.
But I mean, to think
George
about
Girardi.
the Army team
Nice.
that was coached by Bobby Knight,
Yeah.
who had Mike Krzyzewski as one of his players, never made the tournament.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So that's my
Excellent.
useless bit of information for this week.
Chip's trivia time is off the charts.
That was great.
And speaking of off the charts, we got boxing with Smoking Jim Frazier. Thanks for letting me into the boxing scene there. It was enjoyable there. Met a lot of great people, and the Golden Gloves is where you want to be. Jimmy Savetic, hats off to you. Run a nice tournament there.
Well, everybody talks about guys like Bo Jackson being a freak of nature, Herschel Walker, Jim Brown, but I tell you what, Al Levine, the talking machine, is a freak of nature. This is a guy, I tell you what, it almost surprises me that he hasn't been doing this for 30 or 40 years. He's a natural. He stepped right into the basketball, stepped right into the boxing, and I tell you what, we had a lot of fun. I tell you what, the interview skills that Al Levine has is second to none. These boxers aren't easy to talk to. They're not easy to interview because they're not used to being interviewed. Boxers are a throwback to the old days of Joe Louis, where the managers do all the talking for them. So it's very hard to get any nuggets out of boxers, and Al gets their whole life story, man. So he got a gift, and I tell you what, I think
my head just grew.
You know what? And we seen that prior to the show, and
With the big head.
like when Chip called you the toothpick with an orange on top. But I tell you what, I think that it used to be the golden era of boxing back in the 30s and 40s here in Pittsburgh. Out of 8 champions, world champions in professional boxing, 5 of them was from Pittsburgh at one time. And I tell you what, the boxing kind of died, but it's starting to come back. I think right now in amateur boxing, we're seeing the golden era too of box. I see a lot of great pros coming out. So I want everybody to come on out to God's Country. We'll be doing it, BPTV, Al Levine, the Talking Machine, on Sunday afternoon. Go to church in the morning, Mass in the morning, and Assalamu Alaikum, whatever you do in the morning. Then 2 o'clock on Sunday, come to God's Country, Monroeville, and you're going to see some of the greatest amateur boxers of all time, and catch them now while it's cheap before they go pro and start fighting for millions of dollars.
Well, the thing I like about the attitude of these young fighters is, I think that one of the things that have hurt boxing, and, you got Money Mayweather who's out there who won't fight anybody that has any chance at all of beating him. But these young guys, they want to fight. And you know
Anybody.
and they just want to fight, you know. And I remember back in the in the late 70s and the early 80s there were so many great in the lower weight class fighters. You know, there was Aaron Pryor, there was there was Ray Leonard, there was Hagler, there was Hearns. You know, there was there was Alexis Arguello. You know, I mean, there was just so many good fighters, and they all fought each other, you know. So when you had a belt, you could walk around proud and saying, you know what, I'm the best because I beat the best, you know. And these guys that have hurt boxing in the last few years, you've got all these titles, and nobody wants to fight because once they got the belt, they don't want to give up the paydays that go with them. So they won't fight anybody that they have a chance to lose. These young guys are coming up and they're hungry. You know, you've got Sammy Vasquez, and you know, I mean, he wants to fight everybody, anybody. You know, he'll fight you in the street. He'll fight you in the lobby of the police station. Right. He doesn't care, and I love that kind of attitude, and that's what will bring boxing back to the forefront. Is competitive fights and the best fighting the best. I mean,
don't forget our champion Rod Salka from Elizabeth.
Absolutely. These guys, they want to fight, and you know what happens is the people that they fight, they beat the snot out of them, and then these guys on YouTube and their opponents see them, and they're like, oh, we're fighting him, he's going to kill me.
That's true.
So you know what? Quit taping their fights.
Hey, we're still going to promote it on BPTV,
oh,
guys.
Absolutely.
Get ready to watch some of these
100%.
champs because they are good young men. A lot of them are family men, military men, and everything else. Great families. And it's proud to know I'm very proud to know these guys. Thanks, Smoking Jim, for all your compliments. But, I just ask them a few questions. I'm not going to give you my secret on just asking them their name, and then it opens them up. But
since you referred to you as The Natural, was that movie based on any part of you?
Babe Ruth.
Okay, here's what the movie The Natural was based on.
What a segue.
That was good.
You started it.
No,
you started your segue.
Ruth Ann Steinhagen died recently. I'm onto this death scene
Yeah, what
tonight.
is this thing?
And she was actually the inspiration for the movie The Natural with Robert Redford.
Wow.
In the late 40s, she had a shrine in her kitchen. She was a 19-year-old teenager. Dedicated. She died in December, actually, at age 83.
You going to say Babe Ruth?
No, Tim Tebow. But she had a shrine built to Eddie Waitkus of the Chicago Cubs. Waitkus was traded from the Cubs to the Phillies, and this triggered something within her that made her go off. She actually went to Philadelphia and got into the hotel the players. When the Phillies came back to Chicago, she got into the hotel that the Phillies were staying at, and she got a message to Waitkus about there's something that you need to know, and I'd appreciate if you come to my room and we can discuss it. And she actually took out a shotgun, shot him in the back.
Wow.
In the back.
Wow.
He recovered, and he
played the game that night.
He's not a hockey player. He's not a hockey player.
Did he play that night?
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah.
How long did he have a week back?
About a week. Oh, sorry.
One more time, Chip. I don't think anybody heard that.
They caught it.
And then
move on. Are you reading still?
Well, and I wanted to tell you that she just died.
What happened to her?
She died of natural causes. She went into an institution for 3 years.
Why?
Came out of the institution because they deemed her to be unfit to go to Major League Baseball games. And she lived a quiet life in Chicago.
What year was that again? Just to interrupt.
1949 at Wrigley, June the 14th. I mean, this is all diabetical.
Isn't that Flag Day? If you're going to segue into something, I think that's Flag Day, and you're a veteran. And I salute you.
Eddie Waitkus of the Phillies recovered and played a couple more seasons after that. As a matter of fact, the Philadelphia Phillies held a night for him, and he was given an automobile and a whole bunch of other prizes. But that actual incident inspired the book by John Theodore about the natural. Not that natural, but the other natural.
Well, we're all naturals in our own right, and you're a superstar natural on the end.
I've never seen that movie. I got to maybe try to find it.
It's one of the best movies I've seen.
That's hard not to see.
You can come over to my house sometime and watch it, okay?
I've seen all the Rockies.
Okay, well, I have too, even a couple times. We'll have to do movie as sports trivia again. We had fun with that last year. So, all right, we passed boxing, NIT, missed NIT, NCAA. We only touched on it lightly. Let's get into bracketology because I don't know what it is.
Well, you know what? The NCAA tournament this year is so wide open that I think really there's any one of about 8 or 10 teams that legitimately have a shot to win this game. There's there's the 4 number 1 seeds, and people are in an uproar because, the ACC traditionally has been one of the strongest conferences. The ACC is home to Duke and North Carolina, and they're perennially, playing for the championship. The University of Miami this year won the ACC regular season title, won the ACC tournament, and ended up a number 2 seed. And you know what? That's kind of hard to believe. Indiana didn't win their tournament, and and they got a number 1 seed. It makes you scratch your head. Gonzaga, you got to give them their props. They've won 32 games, and they've only got 2 losses. But who do they play this year? And I'll tell you what. You look in that Western Conference where Gonzaga's playing. There's a team in there that you want to keep an eye on. The University of Illinois. University of Illinois has beat quite a number of amazing teams this year. They beat Gonzaga, who's ranked number 1. They beat Indiana, who was ranked number 1 throughout the season, who's a number 1 seed. They beat Ohio State, and I believe they beat Wisconsin. I mean, these are teams that are very, very highly ranked.
Especially
teams.
those Big Ten teams.
The
That's
Big Ten.
the
Big Ten. I'll tell you what, definitely stepped up this year. It was probably the strongest conference in the country. The Big East traditionally has been very, very strong, but the Big East has fallen to pieces. May it rest in peace. It'll be the Catholic schools next year. Pitt's
Go Pitt. I'm still with Pitt now. They're in the tournament.
Now Pitt's lined up to play Wichita State on Thursday. And, the thing about Pitt, they were set up in a great bracket for the Big East tournament. Everybody was having, high hopes for them, and they had a chance to maybe close out the Big East, tournament for the final time. And, they just didn't show up for the first 10 minutes of their game against Syracuse. And subsequently, they ended up losing the game. They beat Syracuse in the last 30 minutes of the game. Unfortunately, they fell in too big of a hole in the first 10. So that, Wichita is a team that Pitt could beat. But we have to wonder what Pitt team is going to show up. They have been consistently inconsistent all year. And, I mean, it's so disappointing because, right now Pitt's got a young team, and I think if they could, beat Wichita, they do have a chance to beat Gonzaga. And if they could make the Sweet 16 this year, that would be a nice preface for next year because most of the guys on Pitt's team are coming back next year. They have very few seniors that are leaving, and, and they got a lot of experience playing this year. The next couple of years, they ought to do well. But Jamie Dixon's teams just seem to let you down every time you get home.
Well, they do disappoint. And one of my best friends is actually a project manager at Pitt. So Dave Brown, thanks for getting me tickets to the football games. That's how I get into nice seats. Right. And guess what the connection is here? He went to K-State. He's a graduate there. I friended him here. His dad helped to rebuild the football stadium with fundraisers at Wichita State.
Wow.
So they're big fans of Wichita State. So, Dave Brown, who are you going to root for?
Wow.
Whoever's winning.
Exactly. And Dave's a guy we should get on the show if you want to meet a guy that knows sports. This guy coaches young kids in sports. He knows ins and outs with basketball, baseball, football. He's a good guy. He could fit on the panel, too. If ever I go down here and miss a show, we may have to call him in to substitute. I'll tag out there. But no, you bring up some great points. Matter of fact, I want to announce another thing. Pittsburgh Sports Nation and Pittsburgh Sports Line are on Little Z Brenner's Bracketology. We have a pick in there. Since I only picked a couple, I picked Louisville the whole way. So I had to ask Big Mike from Pittsburgh Sports Nation to help out. So if you hear the Pittsburgh Sports Nation and the Pittsburgh Sports Line winning, it's because of Big Mike there. Sorry, Big Mike.
Well, I all year long I've been saying the University of Miami.
Yes, you have. We didn't believe you.
The best point guard in basketball is Larkin, which is his dad played professional baseball.
Hall of Famer.
Barry.
Hall of Famer, Barry Larkin.
Yes, sir.
Look for, although Larkin, and if I was advising him, I would tell him turn pro after this year. He said he wants to come back to Miami University. He must have met a girl down there in South Beach. But, New Mexico is going to be tough. Steve Alford is a great coach, doing a great job with New Mexico. I think that Gonzaga is going to beat Pitt half to death. Here's the problem with Pitt, and you guys know, Jamie Dixon is a friend of mine. We've co-emceed some banquets together, Willie Stargell MVP banquet, and here's the problem I always seen with Jamie Dixon's teams. And like you said, Chip, the good news and the bad news is Pitt got everybody coming back next year.
But one maybe.
Yeah, here's the problem is that Jamie Dixon never prepares his team to close out games. So they're never prepared at the end of the game to close out the games. And number two, you cannot win consistently in the big-time tournaments if you don't get easy baskets. Pitt's never had a team under Jamie Dixon that could get easy baskets. You got to pass the ball 5 or 6 times before it. Those are hard shots. You need somebody that can steal the ball, that can dunk the ball, get some fast breaks. And when you play against a team like Gonzaga, you're probably going to go down by 12, 14, 15 points because them boys start getting hot from the outside 3-point shots, and you get athletic teams like, traditionally Marquette's always beat Pitt on athleticism. So, and it's only going to be worse for Pitt next year going to the ACC because them boys got some athleticism down there.
Wow. Well, a couple of other teams, you want to mention, and there's VCU was coached by Shaka Smart, and he seems to always have his team ready to play in a tournament. That's another team to keep an eye out for. And, there was somebody else on my mind. You've got Sean Miller over in Arizona, and he prepares his team well for the, one of the early round upsets. I was talking to a friend of mine. He dabbles in some, odds.
I gotta give him a call.
And he's picking as his team to win it all this year is Butler. And Butler was a fan favorite for 2 years in a row, making it to the final game and losing in the final game. And here's what my prediction is. I'm saying Bucknell is going to knock Butler out in the first round.
Wow. There you go, folks. Change your bracketology right now.
You put a little shingle on that?
Well, since you guys are experts here, who's your pick to win it all? I already said Louisville.
Miami.
Okay, Miami.
You know
Chip,
what?
are you ready?
Looking at what Louisville
You picked 4 of them, so tell me.
But to be honest with you, seeing what Louisville did to Syracuse, they were down by double digits in the first half, and they ran them out of the gym in the second half. And they beat them by 15 points. I think Louisville set up.
All right, I'm with the prophet.
Rick Pitino has got his team peaking at the right time.
And I love Rick Pitino. I've read his book. He got a motivational book that I read.
Okay.
Very, very good.
I saw the cliff notes on it, and that was
that
was dog years.
That was before the extramarital affairs,
Of course.
But these are all speculation because I tell you what,
it's anybody's tournament.
It is anybody's tournament. If there's anything that's happened this year, is just when somebody gets to the top of the ladder, man, it's like they get knocked off immediately. So there's so many good and well coached teams. It's really going to be a lot of fun to watch the tournament this year.
Let me pull Big Mike into this because I know he has an opinion on maybe one of the teams.
Well, I'm reserving my pick until the play-in is completed because I'll be yes.
I didn't interrupt you. I just had a little itch.
Anticipating it.
Yeah, no interruption.
Yeah, I was anticipating it. I'm going to finish my, as we call it, bracketology, my study of the March Ridiculousness until the play-in teams are completed, and the study on how you get crucial Niski out of 11 Z's and K's. I just don't understand that. But that too. So I'm holding off. Maybe next week I'll be able to get back.
Maybe or will you?
That was good.
If God willing is
if you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's another team to keep an eye out for. One of Jim's favorites here, old Ben Howland's UCLA Bruins. They're a number 6 seed, and keep an eye on them this tournament.
That's my coach there.
That's his big cat.
Ben Holland's been down that road before.
Well, hasn't he been underachieving at UCLA? I know he's your guy.
Well,
but-
as the head coach of the UCLA basketball team, I mean, you are always playing under the shadow of John Wooden, and how can you, I mean, the guy won what, 10 or 11 national championships
Yeah, I
in
think 9 in a
12
row or
years.
something.
Yeah, I mean, but no, Ben Howland's, he's had, consistently good teams, and I mean, he's a solid coach, and he knows how to prepare his team for the tournament.
Well, if you look at a crystal ball, you look at guys that maybe leave when they never should have left. Johnny Majors, he had the team here. He went back to his alma mater, Tennessee. Same way with Ben Howland. You looked at Jackie Sherrill. Who knows with the Pitt program, and Jackie Sherrill probably would maybe be ahead of Bear Bryant if he never leaves
Whoa.
Pitt for Texas A&M.
Good
But
point.
they threw so much money at him. So Ben Howland leaving when he had the program going exactly the way he wanted to. And like you said, he wanted to go back home, and he's paying the price for it. But I think they made some Final Fours with him. But you got to win national championships at UCLA.
Eight out of 137 teams that play NCAA basketball, only one team wins the prize every year.
That's true.
And here's something too about your Army. When Bobby Knight was coaching Army, and his point guard was the Duke's coach,
Mike Krzyzewski.
who was the assistant football coach at Army?
Johnny Majors.
Close.
He was a guy.
He was a guy.
He wasn't a major
Bill
or a colonel.
Parcells.
That's it. Bill Parcells. Great job.
Big
And I
time.
gotta challenge you a little bit. I gotta challenge you a little bit on the Army never making it to the NCAAs.
Okay.
I think they did. The
In
women,
basketball?
the women made it with Maggie Dixon, the
Right.
best coach in the
Dixon.
Dixon
And the
family.
Dixon clan.
Well, I thought
yeah.
their dad coached too.
But
Come on.
Maggie was better than.
Really, both
Yeah.
of the guys. Oh,
Oh
geez.
yeah, Maggie.
You don't pull any
Yeah,
punches.
she
No
was
pun
great.
intended, Smithy Jim. Boxing star like you are, extraordinaire.
Great job, Chip.
Definitely. Big Mike, you were chomping on the bit down there. I could tell.
No,
Did that thought stay with you?
What were we talking about?
Okay, thank you. We already touched a little bit on Penguins, but I know Big Mike likes to talk some Penguin talk, so I figure we'll start it down at that end. And
Oh,
come this
I'll
way.
tell you. Last week we talked about it, and I am into the Pen. I mean, I
I
always
know,
have
that's why
been.
I'm
But they're just unbelievable anymore. They're relentless, and as I mentioned a moment ago, they, in my estimation, it has nothing to do with the shots on goal. The puck was constantly being manned by the Bruins. They were bringing the puck down. They were keeping it in the Penguin zone. When the Penguins were able to get it into the Bruins zone, yeah, they would generate some offense. But they won. My point is, they won in a game such as that, in spite of being outplayed. And I think that's a
But
that's
and,
a good sign.
and here's the thing you have to take into account. Boston outshot Pittsburgh in that game. Okay, but quality scoring chances were not many. I mean, if somebody throws a puck at the net and it hits the goaltender, that counts as a shot on goal. But how many of those were real legitimate? Because the defense is just playing. They're not giving people clean shots at the goal. You're not seeing guys wind up and shooting at an empty net. People are getting moved around, and it was kind of maddening watching a lot of the game being played in the Penguins' end. But still, they weren't getting quality scoring chances. So that speaks to the kind of defense that the Penguins are playing. And Marc-Andre Fleury.
I thought you were going to forget goaltending.
No, he.
I was just going to butt in, but
he's
Big
been
Mike,
real
I
good.
couldn't interrupt.
He's been
No
real
interrupt
good.
this here.
And our buddy here, Alan's favorite, and Jim's as well.
Yeah.
and mine.
I tell you what, though, in the third period, if you were watching that game,
Yes, I watched.
he got luckier than anybody that I've ever seen before, because
There were open nets.
he's trying to play the puck behind the net, and he needs to just stay in the crease. And he misplayed the puck, and he got back, and the puck went straight across the goal line. And if he would have gone back a quarter of an inch, he would have knocked the puck into his own goal. And I don't know how he didn't knock that puck in. And I'll tell you what, sometimes
Well,
it's
guys
better
were
to be lucky
yelling,
than
keep the
good.
puck out of there. They were yelling, get that puck out of there. So they did.
Oh, we thought they were saying something else.
No.
They kept on bleeping it.
I actually heard him say, "Get the puck out of there." So, and he did. He breathed on it, or he inhaled it, just got it enough out of the way.
Okay, hold on.
And this is what you get on our show.
Oh,
For all you new fans out there.
Here's a good puck question for you guys.
Oh, gee.
I just heard it on a show today.
What show?
I can't say because I don't know. I don't pay attention to myself, let alone the show.
Thank you.
There was, and I caught the very end of it, so I don't know if it was just a question for whatever, or if it actually occurred in a hockey game. But supposedly the question was, is this a goal or is it not? The puck was shot with such gusto that it hit the goal post. The puck broke in half. Half went into the net and half stayed out. Now, was that a goal or not?
Goal.
Wow.
I say goal.
Wow.
Well, I'm not going to take a poll here, but
No indecision on my part.
Let's go.
the ruling is the entire puck has to cross the line.
See, I don't mind being wrong.
Oh, it's not wrong or right, because I was thinking it was a goal. The puck went into the net, except that half of it didn't. So
Well,
the,
what if they measured it
Right.
and it was a little more than half? So the whole thing has to go in?
it had to be fiction. It had to be a trivial type of question. Otherwise,
Hold it, you're talking right in his wheelhouse right here. Chip's Trivia Time's going to research that.
I'll come up with another nugget for next week.
I know.
Well, I tell you what, not to change the subject.
Go
But he
ahead,
is.
please.
We can get right back on the puck, but
No, keep the puck out of this.
as a sports editor of a newspaper, I get
What newspaper?
I get at the Pittsburgh Courier. I get emails the new Pittsburgh Courier
I'm here.
Online, too.
and online,
Smoking Jim Frazier,
and
reader, editor.
and I get emails from the sports information director of almost all the colleges locally, and
Is that because you call them all?
the Pitt Sports Information Director sent me an email, and prior to me deleting it, I did catch that I believe the Pitt spring game, congratulations, will be at Bethel Park High School this year. So big hand to the Blackhawks.
Yes.
Beautiful facility.
And it is a beautiful campus here at Bethel Park.
Keep the spikes out of the new school, though, please. Don't be walking on that basketball floor. We enjoyed it. But the field is just as nice, too. They redid the field a few years ago.
And I tell you what, I'd like to see Pitt go back to their old uniforms when Dan Marino played, and I think I'm going to wear a patch saying that.
Okay. Maybe you can
When I go
revisit
to
that.
Bethel- when I go
Maybe
to
you
the
can
Bethel
revisit
Park
that
game.
in Bethel Park. Get the patch out. We'll recognize you.
But can I ask you guys one question? And I know we don't want to lose our viewers.
Go ahead.
But I tell you what, how in the world, and I seen this guy play in high school when he was in 9th grade, and was probably the greatest football player I've ever seen. Now, he only played in 9th grade, and he had about 15 touchdowns. And he played in the high school in Akron. And his name is LeBron James. LeBron James was a phenomenal. Now, all they did was throw it to him. And he was fast, big.
Right.
But, I mean, if he wanted to play tight end or wide receiver in the National Football League, who could cover this guy? That dunk he had last night when we was at
We
Sips.
saw it.
I mean,
He buried the guy.
He buried the guy. But if you watch it in slow motion, and I got it on my phone, and as I was deleting the Pitt email, I was watching that at the same time. I mean, it was like Dr. J. What Dr. J made Dr. J great was Dr. J could continue to elevate. You would go up, Dr. J would go up, you would go up, Dr. J would go up. You start going down, Dr. J was still going up. LeBron caught the ball, and he still was going up. And when he dunked that ball on Terry, who got a big mouth, who said before the game that there's nothing that the Miami Heat did that impressed him, and then he dunked it, knocked him down. Oh man, that was
Maybe
beautiful.
that didn't impress him because he was unconscious.
And the way he stood over him afterwards,
That was good.
well, what are you saying now? You know?
That was good.
You got anything else to say?
But the question is, if LeBron James, and I love Troy Polamalu at 5'9", 5'10", whatever he is, without the hair. How can you cover a guy like that?
Hit him low.
Now, I also seen, and you guys seen, who's the tight end for the San Diego Chargers that got all the records?
Tony Gates?
Keller
Or
Winslow.
was
Gates.
it Tony Gonzalez?
Gates.
Okay.
Gates, don't forget, never played football in college at Kent State. Kent State beat Pitt in the NCAAs, and Gates was the star 20-point game power forward, but he was too short for the
Darn, you should have saved that for fiction and film.
Yeah, he was too short for the NBA, so he went to the NFL, and he's now the greatest tight end of all time next to Mike Ditka.
For all you young sports fans, that just goes to show you, if you don't succeed in one sport, go to another and see Smoking Jim.
You know, to speak to LeBron James, and he's not one of my favorite professional athletes, but you do have to give him props. You go straight from high school into the NBA, and then because, you know, they didn't want that to continue to happen, they changed the rules. Yeah. Now you have to go through 1 year of college. But, you know, he made the smart move because he's going to make ultimately much more money and have a much longer career, because one thing about football, you know, you get all those big, large people smashing into you, and, you know, football's not a contact sport. It is a collision sport.
Good point.
You know, he made the right move because ultimately he'll have a longer career and you'll be able to really see his greatness. I mean, think about all the great athletes that, you know, that really never got to have a real NFL career. And the one that comes to mind is the great Gale Sayers.
Yes.
Probably one of the greatest running backs that ever played the game. His career was cut short in the mid-'60s because whoever the defensive back for the 49ers
Kermit
was.
Alexander.
Yeah.
I hate him.
Took his knee out. And, I mean, I'll tell you what. Gale Sayers had 6 touchdowns in one game. He ran back how many touchdowns in that, or kickoffs in that game? Yeah. Nobody could touch him. I mean, his uniform was clean. You know, I mean, and I remember seeing him play when I was a child, and he was one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen play a professional sport.
I always say the difference between Gale Sayers and O.J. Simpson, who was a great running back, is Gale Sayers had eyes in the back of his head, and O.J. Simpson had eyes on the side of his head. That was the difference.
Yeah.
Nice point, but I disagree. If you have a son that can pitch, and he's a left-hander, folks, make sure he pitches. He'll get to the minor leagues easily, and he'll go to the majors because they always need left-handed pitching.
What was Oral Cam Boyd? What was Oral Cam Boyd? Was he left-handed?
But you know what, though? To speak to that point, Alan, here's something, you know, of all the people that go into the minor leagues, 10% of the people that go into the minor leagues ever see the majors. So, you know, I mean, the guys that play baseball, 90% of them that go into the minors never see the big show.
Well, even look at football. Smoking Jim can give you statistics on there with all the people in the NCAA, how many turned pro. And look, fans, we got Bruce Gradkowski. Young Bruce is back in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. Yeah. And we got his brother Gino, a Super Bowl winner. So imagine one family here in Pittsburgh, they beat the odds all the way around. So that just shows you, kids, try baseball.
And I think that Gino's going to be the starting center for the Ravens next year. But 2 things you'll never see in the National Football League real close, and I'm mad about it. You'll never see a white cornerback in the National Football League. I think it's reverse discrimination. And you'll never see a black man holding for kicks. He ain't going to get his finger kicked, bro.
With all your scouting there, can't you promote some of this?
Them brothers ain't going to get their fingers kicked, man.
I never thought about it like that. And folks, we've run down on time. I usually like to do closing remarks. But since Smoking Jim went to the comedian route, we're just going to pass on our closing remarks. I got to think, that's one of those things, what did Arsenio Hall go, that make you think, right? So we'll do that. But before we go, I want to thank Aaron Ward, Devin Shea, young Joe here on the camera. He's paying attention like you can't believe, folks. He hasn't missed anything we're doing.
He hasn't made Al's head look like a planet.
I know. And he did something with the camera earlier. It was just shocking because these guys they're tough. They're busting
right here.
They're busting my chops. But thanks for everybody, Dave Cable. Thanks for the great work you do on SIPS. It's Sports Bar. You do the great graphics. We get a lot of good promo. And thanks for watching. Without you guys, we wouldn't be performing like this. Have a great night. See you next week.